10 o'clock, everybody. I'll call the Electoral Area Service Committee of November the 5th, 2025 to order. We do have a quorum. First Nations territorial acknowledgement. I acknowledge that we are located on the traditional territory of the Lashpatach people. The next item of business is the adoption of the public agenda.
I have an amendment I'd like to propose to the agenda. I have actually 3 items of new business I'd like to propose.
Okay.
I'd like to add the electoral area sub-regional grant and aid service.
Okay.
I would like to add a single participant budget meeting scheduling conflict, and I
Great.
would like to talk about temporary use permits.
All righty. Thank you.
I'd like to move it as amended.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. None are opposed. No petitions or delegations. Adoption of the previous minutes.
Move adoption of the regular October 8th, 2025 Electoral Area Services Committee minutes.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? And none opposed, that's carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none. No public consideration, notice of motions or chairs reports. Moving on to staff reports. Number 1, Electoral Area C, Fish Community Plan Project Update for receipt.
Move receipt.
Second.
Discussion? Seen anything?
Yeah, Annie will, thanks.
Thank you to the committee through the chair. This report is to provide an update on the Area C OCP review project. We're continuing to work on phase 2, being community engagement phase. This month, we did not have any focus groups scheduled with community organizations, so we're moving ahead with planning the next couple of engagement options. But that does not mean that the opportunity to meet with us is over. If there are other community organizations that still want to sit down with us, that is certainly still an option. We just haven't had any more responses. So for the next couple of engagement initiatives, the first one will be an in-person event to bring some initial draft policy direction to out to the residents for community feedback. We're hoping to start advertising that very soon. We made sure to include content on agriculture. This in-person event will likely be on Quadra. We also sent out some materials to Surge Narrows for the groups out there to gather and provide more focused input and feedback on their existing rural land use bylaw. So we're looking forward to receiving that. We're also starting to work on another engagement option for Outer Island residents that will likely be in the form of a mail out to make sure that those in the farther outskirts of Area C can be invited directly, as well as have locally specific input. And lastly, we have now received our referral comments from various departments at Island Health. So that's great as well. Thank you.
Anything from directors? Director Winning?
I do have a couple questions, if I may, Chair. Thank you for the report, and it's great to hear that you are planning an in-person engagement on Quadra Island. It's been a little while. It's been, I think, about a year since we started this. So that was actually one of my questions because the report mentioned that there's preparation for an OCP open house and future in-person engagement options, but I was wondering if you have any information on those that you can share publicly as far as like dates. I did notice that the community center main hall calendar has blocked off like I think pretty much every Wednesday for the SRD. So I was wondering if that was related to the OCP in potential engagement sessions.
We haven't heard back from them yet, so I don't think it was one of those Wednesday dates.
Okay. All right. So will it be before Christmas? Maybe I can ask in vague questions like that.
We certainly hope so. It depends on availability of the hall. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And when you said that you're bringing some draft bylaws or draft something that you said, I'm sorry, I didn't write it down. Is that information that you've sort of collected from the community groups that you've met with or the Island Health? Is that the sort of thing that you're bringing forward at this meeting?
Any draft policy at this point would be primarily from either the first two kickoff meetings or what we've heard through just individuals emailing us or from focus groups with community organizations.
Okay, and it just as a follow-up to that, previously there, it seemed like the intention was maybe to have a series of meetings that would each sort of dive into one of the, or two of the topics that are either necessary in an OCP, mandated to be in an OCP or ones that have been, highlighted through your communications with the community. And is that still the intention, is to have those sort of maybe like following this one meeting, or like, I'm just trying to like, I think that the community would like to be able to like save some dates in their calendar if they knew what was coming. And it just, we haven't really had that yet.
If I may, through the chair, to the director, as we've indicated multiple times, we are gathering topic-specific information to be able to have more focused meetings on Quadra Island. How many of those topics that we entertain at one meeting will really depend on the interest level that we have received through all of the consultation that we continue to do behind closed doors. Although it may not seem as though we're having more fulsome, open, public consultation throughout the community, we actually are. And what will happen is we will bring forward multiple topic-specific items through multiple meetings on Quadra and the Outer Islands as we can. We are confirming dates. Those dates, as soon as we can, will be provided on our project update page. That is where the community and the area director can receive ongoing information outside of our updates at the Electoral Area Services Committee. So please do stay tuned. We are working diligently to ensure that we can get these focus group meetings happening so that hopefully early in the new year, we'll actually be able to provide a draft.
Sorry, is that a draft bylaw? Is that what you were saying?
That's right.
And is that is that a phase 2 thing or is that a phase 3 thing?
Phase 3.
Okay, so I think I must be confused because I thought that the phase 2 was the community engagement. And now you're suggesting that we're going to have one meeting and then we're going to have a draft bylaw and be in phase 3. Is
That is not, thank you through the chair, if I may. If we could maybe rewind, we indicated that we will be having multiple sessions on both Quadra and the Outer Island communities if we can. And if we cannot hold those meetings on the Outer Island communities, we will be doing so in alternate means. Once we're confident that we have identified all of the topic areas and had sufficient time to discuss those topic areas with each of those areas of those communities, we will be bringing forward a draft bylaw for consideration for each of those areas.
Oh, a draft bylaw for each of the areas. So specifically, are you suggesting that Quadra Island would be separate than the Outer Discovery Islands? Because you just said draft bylaw for each area. So I'm just trying to understand what that meant.
Draft bylaw content for each area, sorry, through the chair. Draft content bylaw for each of the areas that we determine require individual sections to the overarching bylaw.
Okay, well, that's helpful. Thank you for clarifying that. And is there a potential, like, I don't really know, maybe this is a question for the CAO or for planning staff. I'm just not clear on how long or at what point we would expect the OCP project to kind of be completed. Like, I don't know. It's been a year and I don't know, like, should we be expecting that it would likely be wrapped up by the beginning of summer 2026 or summer 2027, or do you have any thoughts on that?
Through the chair, it really depends on how the process progresses. It's really up to your community when they feel that the bylaw is ready to be considered.
Oh, okay, that's great. Thank you.
Anything further? Seeing none, call the question on receipt. All those in favor? None are opposed. That is carried. Number 2, electoral deed development cost charges bylaw project update. Receipt.
Move receipt.
I think.
Second.
Oh, sorry. I think Aniko can speak to this. Excuse me.
Thank you through the chair. Just wanted to give a little bit of a brief update. I know that we had discussed this a bit of time ago with respect to a desire from Electoral Area D to pursue consideration for development cost charges for the electoral area. Certainly, there is much that is required to go into the development of a DCC bylaw. We have done much actual preliminary research around the potential development cost charges for electoral area D. At this point, those are primarily around parks and water infrastructure. You will recall we've had a couple meetings and a couple staff reports that provided the committee some information as to where DCCs may be applicable within this specific electoral area. Certainly that infrastructure has to be maintained by the regional district and owned by the regional district and the service operated by the regional district, which excludes some of the services that the community is actually currently being provided. However, I think through the last report, we had considered proceeding with some research with respect to parks and water. We have done the preliminary background research. We've done some peer reviews. We've done some outreach to some of the consultants about what the scope of works might look like. We're waiting for finalization of our Parks Master Plan for Area D, which will inform the parks component of the DCC bylaw. Once that is completed, we will send out a proposal for interest from consultants to assist us with a DCC study, which will provide the regional district information related to the costs for the infrastructure related to water and parks to be contemplated as part of a DCC bylaw. So we're at this point assuming that hopefully we will be able to go out to RFP early mid 2026 to get a consultant to assist us on that study. Thank you.
Anything from director to direction?
No, thank you, Chair. I think the report is pretty clear and conversation is quite clear, so thank you.
Okay, I'll call a question on receipt. All those in favor? None are opposed. That is carried. Number 3, development cost charges and amenity cost charges to receipt.
Move receipt.
Second.
Yeah.
I don't know if, Annie going to speak this? Okay.
Thank you to the committee through the chair. This report is for the committee to consider further direction on amenity cost charges for electoral areas B, C, and D. Amenity cost charges, or ACCs, allow local governments to levy fees for new development in order to fund community amenities needed for growth, such as community centers, libraries, or childcare facilities, for example. As explained in the report, ACCs can be highlighted through policy within individual OCPs and used to encourage the provision of specific amenities by at the time of development. At the time of development, and require the requirement to provide either a DCC or ACC can only be administered through a separate bylaw, and that bylaw needs to outline the specific amenity and the contribution fee calculations. So at this stage, community engagement to enable added language on specific amenities to the electoral area OCPs could be a potential next step, especially Area C, where there's already community engagement in progress. Thank you.
Anything from directors? See none? Oh, Director Mooney?
Thanks, Chair. I noticed that in the report, it states that the amenity cost charges are through a bylaw, not a policy. But it also said that there was additional information that was expected from the province regarding amenity cost charges, and that there was interim guidance, but that there was maybe more information that was coming. And I know that this was deferred in 2024. So I'm just wondering if there has been any information which has come to planning staff that would provide further guidance on amenity cost charges.
Thank you through the chair. At this time, there's nothing further to inform the committee as to what the process would look like or what amenities could be contemplated. So we are basing the potential next steps on the information that's already been provided to the committee. So just to reiterate again, this was deferred. We've waited this long, just pending any additional information that may have steered us in a different direction. We have yet to receive that. So we wanted to bring it back to the committee so that they could advise staff as to whether or not they wanted to pursue the information that was provided previously, which really is to explore potential amenity contributions through your official community plans, through in-depth community consultation, which would then potentially inform the ACC bylaw, which could be supported by the committee and approved by the board, and then imposed, again, only at time of subdivision. I just want to reiterate that. For electoral areas B and C, in absence of a building service, that is the only mechanism for those two electoral areas to impose ACCs. And I can't remember, but I think in 2023, there was about 2 in area B and 5 in area C, something like that, for subdivision. So that kind of gives you an idea as to how often you could potentially, at this point, impose ACCs through your ACC bylaw. Thank you.
Director? Winnie?
Would it, if we're suggesting that this community consultation would be done at the same time as the official community plan, would the amenity cost charges be part of the official community plan bylaw, or would they be a separate bylaw?
Thank you through the chair for clarification. Your ACC bylaw is based on the policies contained within your OCP. So your OCP would highlight what amenities your community has identified, and then your ACC bylaw being in alignment with your OCP.
Okay, and that would be, sorry, areas such as parks or childcare spaces and things like that. Is there a more exhaustive list somewhere that I could potentially see at some point? Is it, maybe it's in, there was a lot of pages in that report.
Yeah, the guide is attached. We'll just see if we can find which page that is on for the director.
And that would be, yeah, okay. And I did have one other question, if I may, Chair. And that was that at our recent Comox Strathcona Waste Management meeting, there was a report which mentioned consideration of imposing DCCs for solid waste infrastructure in all of the catchment area. And I was just curious if that would go through the CSWM board, or if we would have that referred to us and we would need to create those DCCs here at the SRD.
I'll answer maybe that question first prior to Annie. Our understanding with the legislation that's been provided to us, if it's not the service that we operate, it's not our authority to do so. So similarly to electoral area D, for Director Rice's area, the Comox Valley Regional District imposes DCCs for the Black Creek Oyster Bay water service because that is the service that they provide. So we would not be able to. Our understanding is that it would be similar to CSWM.
Okay, and it would be at the time of subdivision with those DCCs, is that correct? Because of there not being another lever for that?
Through the chair, sorry, specifically for areas B and C, yes. For Director Rice's area D, it could be done at time of building permit.
And area A, of course, would they be immune to that or no?
Thank you through the chair. Area A has elected to not participate so far in this discussion, so we have not considered them.
Oh, but the CSWM they're part of, so that would be, they would be included. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Director Van Ash?
My question's been answered. Thank you.
Okay. Anything further?
Through the chair, the definition of amenity is provided on attachment. It's on page 29 and page 30. So amenity means a facility or feature that provides social, cultural, heritage, recreational, or environmental benefits to a community. So a community youth or senior center, recreational or athletic facility, a library, a daycare facility, and a public square. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, call a question on receipt. All those in favor? None opposed, that's carried. Number 4, transit shelter update, electoral area D.
Move receipt.
Second.
Second.
Yeah.
Sheena is going to speak to this, I believe.
Yes, thank you through the chair to the committee. So this is an update on a project that we have been trying to pursue since the budget was dropped this March. In an attempt to get 2 new transit shelters delivered on the Area D transit route, we applied for a minor services betterment grant, which is the same grant funding that we used to install the 4 shelters. They were installed in early 2024, I believe. That grant provides up to $100,000, which would have provided us close to, if not 100% of the funding needed for those 2 shelters. So we're waiting on initiating construction for the announcement of that grant, as in the past we've been told that it is often undersubscribed and a pretty easy pot to access. So we submitted the grant in April. In May, there was questions raised around maintenance of those bus shelters. One of the big points of contention being snow removal, where the ministry requires that the owner of the infrastructure provide snow clearing to those shelters. Being that this is a not owned and maintained highway, and that the SRD does not provide any snow clearing, this did provide a bit of a constraint for us. We did inquire with the city of Campbell River as to whether or not they would provide snow clearing services for us. They indicated that they would, but we're not able to provide a cost for that, making it difficult for us to agree to that level of service. They also noted that there might be conflicts with their higher priorities levels of clearing, as they only have a certain amount of infrastructure to maintain snow assets as well. Coupled with, you can imagine, when the plows come along the highway, they create a pretty significant berm on the shoulder side. There's also concern that their snow clearing would actually create barriers for access to our shelters and a larger burden of maintenance on the crew going out there who has to disassemble that berm, which is often packed down snow and ice. So we were trying to make an argument with the Ministry of Transportation along those lines. That was done both through emails and a formal letter written by one of the directors at the City of Campbell River, Andy Gaylor, who oversees the transportation portfolio. Took a while for the ministry to get back to us, reiterating that they will not provide maintenance. So in an effort to move this forward, I met with the city to discuss the transit service agreement generally earlier in late October, and we agreed to commit to maintenance to get the grant pushed through, and then we'd sort it out later, noting that, snow events are somewhat infrequent. So anecdotally speaking to other jurisdictions, they said that often the snow was actually melted by the time their crews went to the site. So perhaps that was a way we could get around it. Unfortunately, once we went back to the grant funders saying that we are committed to maintenance, they informed us that the program was fully subscribed, but they were happy to put us on a wait list to see if additional funding became available. So that's where we are right now with the grant. While my estimates for the cost of these 2 shelters are pretty stale at this point, back at the beginning of the year, they were around $94,000. We do have $154,000 committed through a couple of different means, but allocated within the transit service budget to support this. So we could move forward independently, either now or in 2026, to initiate construction of those shelters. We've done a lot of the pre-work with the ministry to identify where the pullouts will be, get their preliminary acceptance of that. So we could push this ahead and do it on our own, or we can wait and see if we're either funding becomes available under this current funding portfolio or have our application ready for early submission in 2026. So mostly this is just an update and then to see if there's any direction from the committee about moving this project forward. Happy to answer any additional questions. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Chair. Just one question. I know cost is one of those unknowns, but I recall that I was in a conversation, and I think it might have been with our CEO, that I think he advised me at one point that directors have the authority to make an expenditure like getting a bobcat in the wintertime to clear a particular area. Is that something that could be done?
I think we would, because, well, we could either contract it ourselves or it could be part of a maintenance contract that we have with the city, but I don't think that's certainly impossible.
Okay. I mean, we're only talking 4 shelters, and I can't see that maintenance would be a big task. So,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's what Sheena was referring to. I don't think we have a lot of events, and I don't think the maintenance would be that big a deal. So I think what the group decided was that, you know, we could take on responsibility for that maintenance, whatever that be, and then try and move forward with the grant. The grant kind of window came and closed, so it's like, okay, do we want to move forward with that now, or do we want to wait for the next intake, then just accept maintenance, put our application in, and see if we're successful?
Okay. One more comment to make. The report was quite detailed. I do agree with the report that to proceed would be probably the smartest thing at this point. Shelter Point would benefit huge from the shelter. I think that would encourage senior use a lot more. So when we get to it, I'll be moving option B. Thank you.
Anything further from directors? Seeing none, call a question on receipt. All those in favor? And there's none opposed, so that's carried. And Director Race, motion?
Like to move option B, that the committee recommend that the SRD proceed with construction in 2026 using the available SRD transit service funds.
Need a seconder?
I can second that.
Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, that's carried. All right, we're down to bylaws, correspondence, director's report, new business. Let's, we skip one? Oh, yeah, number 5, let's for Area D stormwater management. Receipt.
Move receipt.
And I
Second.
think Sheena will speak this. However, I think she had a supplemental that she can layer over top of that and kind of consolidate things and speak to the report as a whole.
Yes, thank you through the chair to the committee. So I have a confession to make. I made a mistake on one of the reports. It was essentially a typo, but it has sort of trailed through this process now, and we need to address it. So it's regarding the funding source for this study. So the initial report suggesting the options to move forward into stormwater design happened in June. And in that report, the financial services section correctly identified the funding sources that were available to us, but unfortunately that information was not carried over into the options. So the option that was moved was to fully fund the detailed design in catchment area C in Oyster Bay using $150,000 from the 2025 feasibility study budget. When I was working on the surplus forecasting earlier this week, I realized that there's only $100,000 in that funding source. And what should have been presented in the initial report was $100,000 of feasibility funding and up to $50,000 from Area C or Area D gas tax to supplement the rest. After having chatted through that with the CFO, he has also suggested that an alternative might be fully funding through gas tax, and that is because this project is eligible, and whereas feasibility study money has different areas of eligibility. So there may be a strategic benefit to going with full gas tax funding at this point, but that's really up to the director and what he might have in mind for either of those funding sources. So ultimately, before we proceed into the recommendation of award for a contract that is valued at approximately $134,000, I do think it prudent to reconfirm the desire to proceed and under which funding allocation. So I guess from a process or procedural standpoint, I'm not entirely sure if we just want to weave in a new recommendation for funding with the recommendation for award on the report that's in front of us, or if we need to make a separate recommendation now.
Well, I can add to that. I think we need to decide whether we award the contract or not, and then what the funding sources will be. So the recommendation is $136,000 to ISL Engineering, and then I think we could do another recommendation of the funding source, whether that be 100 from the feasibility and 50 from gas, or 150 from gas tax alone.
Perfect. So maybe I will just go in a little bit more to the contract award portion of the report, unless there's any other questions from what I just said.
Questions? Don't see any.
Okay, so we received 8 submissions to the stormwater design, which is a pretty well-received RFP. All of them were quite well written. Most of them were from they were all appeared to be from qualified firms. After going through an evaluation matrix that evaluated, in addition to cost, methodology and approach, project team, local specific experience, identification of challenges, constraints, and mitigation strategies. This one was a pretty key evaluating on this project. References from similar projects and proposal clarity and layout. ISL Engineering scored the highest. They were middle of the pack in cost for services, which to me is a good thing. That means that they had a realistic view and they weren't necessarily going farther than they needed to or keeping it more lean than they needed to. They have an excellent project team. They identified all of the constraints and challenges in our local area. They had clearly been to the site and visited it. They're a large engineering firm. They've got a small team on Vancouver Island, but a very large team within BC, and so a lot of support there. They ranked the highest, so they are the one that we are going for recommendation with. And happy. I will also mention that we asked for the base scope, which is the detailed design up to 75%. We asked for 2 optional scopes, one being the geotechnical investigation and one being the 95% design. Within this recommendation, we are recommending award of scope 1, which is the geotechnical investigation, as it has a clear implication on the detailed design, as understanding what the road surface is and what those restoration requirements will be is key to understanding cost. At this point, I'm not necessarily recommending that we move forward with the 95% design, and the contract award value reflects that. And that is because with the changing permitting landscapes, changing property ownerships, I feel that progressing to 95% design before we have a pretty clear timeline for construction is likely will result in rework. So we can always pick up the 75% design and take it to 95 once we've got better assurance that we're moving into construction. And should that assurance come as we're moving through the first stage of this project, we can definitely look towards amending the contract. Their fees for the optional contract 2 being the 95% design were well in line with others and would still be captured within the $150,000 budget that had previously been identified for this project. I think that's it. Happy to answer any other questions.
Director? Director Rice?
I didn't actually have any questions. I'm ready to move the option and then we'll get down to the funding.
All right, we'll call a question on receipt then. All those in favor? That's unanimous. And Director Rice.
I'd like to move item B, that the committee recommend that the contract for Electoral Area D Stormwater System Design Catchment C and Oyster River Rest Area be awarded to ISL Engineering and Land Services Limited in the amount of $136,674, including GST for the core project and option scope 1.
That's
Second.
excluding GST.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I tried.
You did good. Seconder, please.
I did say second. I'll
Thank
say it
you.
again. Second.
Anything from directors? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? That's unanimous. That's carried. Director Rice.
I'd like to recommend that this be funded through 100% of gas tax money.
That's a motion. Got a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? In favor, Director Vinesh? Yes. That's unanimous. That's carried. All right. Now we have no bylaws correspondence for director's report. We're down to new business. I think the first item was the sub-regional electoral area grant and aid service. Edith, you could put my little spreadsheet up. I don't know if you've seen this little spreadsheet I made, Dave. But I think what we're looking for is for each director to identify how much they want to put in their grant and aid budget. This thing calculates the percent and you can round it off to 1 decimal if you like. And we'll see what the board says and then we'll see what the ministry says and maybe by some miraculous chance it might go through. But anyway, I'm happy with 3,500. What's area B want?
Are you asking what I want to do for grants and aid in 2026, or this would be probably
Yes.
2027, right?
2026.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to keep mine similar to what it was last year, which I believe was, I forget if it was 25 or 30, but whatever.
I've got you down there
Disaster.
29.4, but give me a number and we'll type it in.
I do want to double check it, but you can put 30 in there, but I just want to keep it the same as last year.
Okay. If you'd make it 30, please, Edith. Then area C.
I was intrigued by the column that you had in there, which says the percentage of total electoral area grant in aid requisition as I thought that was interesting, an interesting metric that I hadn't really considered before. I do know that the electoral area C grant and aid budget has not been fully subscribed in the last couple of years, so I think it'd be safe to move it down to $30,000 or thereabouts, although I'm not sure. I feel like I need to like maybe have a little bit more thought about this than in the, like during our single participant budget meetings, which I know we're gonna be having in December. But I think it's a great spreadsheet and it would be really helpful to be able to use that in a sub-regional grant and aid
Okay, well, I
service.
think the next step will be staff to bring back a draft bylaw. So let's stick 30,000 in there, Rita, for area C. And then D, what would you like to put in?
10,000.
10 for D. So there's the percentages. All adds up. The year end spent was just a guess, so that's got nothing to do with 2026. At the end of 2026, you can put in how much you spent and that will calculate the remaining balance. And then for the next year, 2027, it puts it in the calculation. So how does that look to staff? Is that a possible thing? There's the percents, round it off to one decimal. Maybe.
Well, Mr. Chairman, as previously mentioned, once those percentages are set, then the directors would have to abide by them, of course. There's a process to change them, but that could involve the electors again. We have no idea at this point whether municipal affairs will look kindly upon this sort of approach or not, but we'll find out.
I wonder if it would help if we changed the name from grant and aid to special financial assistance or something, special projects.
I wouldn't hazard a guess on that.
I like that. I like that thinking.
Director Vinesh?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just, I think this is a great potential here, and excited to see what the province comes back with as far as whether this can work. And just want to note, Gerald, you're such an Excel spreadsheet whiz.
I think
Exactly.
what would be really nice if whatever money you put in there, you spend it. And then we never have to change the bylaw again.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit tricky for me. Like, obviously, I think that's something I'd consider. If we can't change it, then that's something we can consider once we know that information. But I think in an ideal world, it'd be something that we could adjust on a yearly basis if we could.
I would echo what Director Vinesh said there.
All right, so I think the next step is we need a motion to bring back a bylaw, provisionary draft bylaw, and using these percentages.
I will make that motion. I'll move that staff bring back a provisionary draft bylaw for a electoral area sub-regional special, what did you call it? Special- Okay, grant and aid service to the December East meeting for consideration.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that's unanimous, that's carried. What was the next item of new business?
The budget schedule?
Oh, yes. Go ahead,
If
Director
I
Lynn.
may, Chair. I noticed this week when I was looking at my December calendar that our single participant budget meeting day has fallen on the same day as our regional hospital board meeting
Right.
in December 11th, Thursday.
Perhaps staff could come up with an alternative date.
I was wondering if we could do if everybody felt like they could do the 12th or the 15th, but
Yeah, so Mr. Chair looked at the calendar and the 11th is what it's scheduled for, the hospital board meeting. That's a Thursday. Looks like there's availability on the 12th, the Friday, or 15th, the Monday, if that works for the directors. Now, because there's only 4 of you and it's easier to schedule electoral area directors, if you want to split that up between the 12th and the 15th, it doesn't, if one fits into your schedule better, or if all 4 of you can agree on one of the 2 dates, that's fine as well. But I do think the 12th or the 15th would be a fine substitute for the 11th.
Okay, doesn't make any difference to me. Director Rice?
On the 12th, I have other commitments. I've got executive committee meetings with the Vancouver Island Library.
How about the 15th? You good for that?
The 15th, 15th, I'm good.
Okay. Robin's good?
15th is fine for me.
Director Knight?
15th doesn't work for me. 12th could potentially work, but I'm also wondering about what about the afternoon of the 11th? The hospital board meeting will be done by lunchtime.
We can split them up. I mean, as we know, they're they're somewhat informal. So we can do 3 of them on the 15th, and we can either do the afternoon of the 11th, if that works for you, Director Bonish. That's no problem. They don't have to be all together. So how about this? Because we got consensus from 3 of you on the 15th, and as we already have it in the calendar for the 11th, we'll schedule something that fits Director Bonish's schedule, and we'll do Area B on the 11th. Sound
Great,
good?
that's great. Thank you.
Okay, let's have, do we need a motion or is that just?
Yeah, do we need a motion? I
Uh,
wasn't sure about that.
I think
Board
we're.
have to approve this?
No, I think we're fine. The direction of staff is fine. However, on that same topic there, I think it was the 11th. Was it the regular EASC meeting? The 10th? Sorry,
Yeah,
thank you.
Wednesday.
This is to Edith more. That's scheduled for 45 minutes on the calendar on the 10th,
Yeah.
the EASC meeting. That seems odd to us. Can you? For EASC?
Is it possible to have microphone on so I can hear
Yeah,
this
you
conversation?
need, yeah, sorry.
I believe there's some changes going to be presented at the November board meeting for meeting schedules for that day, because that is also the day of the director's Christmas party. And we want to make sure there's a seamless transition into that
Right,
process.
okay, thanks. So the meeting will be longer than 45 minutes. We'll likely adjust the times of the EASC and the board meeting. Okay, good, thanks. Okay.
All right, we're good on that one. Was there a third one?
Yeah.
Tom?
There is. Oh, we've done 2 now. I had 3 things. Yeah.
So staff, what was it?
Temporary use permits.
Temporary use permit. Just before we do that, Dave, you'll send out an email about the time that each electoral area is
Yeah.
scheduled for.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, go ahead, Director.
You'll be first because you're always quickest. so.
Yay.
Okay, so the third item that I had added for new business was temporary use permits. And if I may just explain what I'm thinking about, I've heard that and I've noticed that in other regional districts, that temporary use permits are being used for a variety of things, including potentially to permit tiny homes as long-term temporary accommodation, if you want to call it that. I don't know exactly what to call it, but I didn't see that we at the SRD have, I couldn't find a policy or even an application form for a temporary use permit. And I was just wondering if we could potentially have a report on what our current policy is on temporary use permits, and also how they are used in other regional districts. So yeah, I'm going to propose a motion about that, but that's the general gist of what
All
I'm
right.
curious about.
Don't see anybody else, so go ahead and make your, Director Rice.
Just curious about the use of temporary use permits. My understanding is that the province is already moving towards new legislation on small footprint homes. So I'm not really, I believe that it's already, we're looking at the Cowichan Valley as having them as being accepted. So I'm not sure why we want to explore temporary use permits if the province is moving to make it more legal anyways. I could be wrong on that.
Well, I haven't heard that. That's great news. And really the reason that I was interested in temporary use permits as a potential solution for housing is because I think I've witnessed this in my community that someone is willing to offer a place for a temporary, for a tiny home to be used as a home. And then they've had to tell that tiny home owner that they're sorry that they can't live there because their home insurance will not permit them to have the tiny home on their property. And I have been wondering if with a temporary use permit, it seems like they are usually available for up to 3 years at a time. And they're usually, from what I've seen, you can renew them at least once, so that would provide 6 years. And with a temporary use permit in place, I wondered if that would provide more legal assurance for insurance companies and therefore homeowners to expand the possibility of providing maybe quote unquote non-traditional housing, in our electoral areas.
So I'm just curious, are they smaller than a little mobile home that you're talking about?
I think that they often fall under the RV category because they're on wheels. Although they aren't temporary, or tiny homes aren't always on wheels, but they often do seem to be
Yeah,
on
mobile
wheels.
homes are on wheels, that's why they're mobile.
But I think mobile homes are often moved and then the wheels are removed
you
and
can
they're
take the wheels
anchored
off
to
the
the
engine.
ground or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
just
seems
curious.
like there's a lot of questions that maybe staff could answer.
So have you got a motion then? Go ahead.
If I just may through the chair, briefly, it would be really great if you could explain to us what your definition of tiny home is, because it's really used interchangeably. So we really do need clear direction from this table as to what information that we will be providing, based on the, level of detail that would be required in providing this report. I will just say right off the top, temporary use permits are used. They're very similar to zoning amendment bylaws. They really are to permit a temporary use that is legal or is permitted within the bylaw. However, in a zone that is not the zone that, the existing property has. So, say someone had a residential parcel and I wanted to do something that didn't meet the residential criteria within the bylaw, a temporary use permit would be used to allow that use that's not contemplated in that zone for a period of time. The director is correct, 3 years can be renewed. But again, that use still has to be permitted. So if we're speaking about tiny homes on wheels, we've had this conversation a number of times at this table, multiple staff reports. To this date, long-term residential use of anything that is on wheels that doesn't, meet the requirements of the province and doesn't have a, sort of CSA standard could not be used for a temporary use permit. So I just really don't want to spend an exorbitant amount of time on a staff report if in fact this isn't something that we could contemplate anyway. So just clarity would be great.
The one other question I have is what about water? Vancouver Island Health doesn't allow you to share water. How do you get around that?
I think that you can share water, but you have to have it tested every 2 weeks or something.
Not sure.
Oh.
Thank you, Chair. Just to expand on what Annika was saying, I wonder if it would be more useful to get a report on, I suspect that there's been changes. So what is now permitted, that the province is looking at before we dive down in, a temporary use permits? That might be more useful.
Having had a preview to the resolution, I think that's what the resolution speaks to, getting some information on that.
Right, well, we can workshop the resolution. That's fine, I'm open to that. The motion that I,
Have you got a motion yet?
the motion that I have so far is that staff report on temporary use permits and how they are used in other regional districts to support tiny home and RV living accommodations. But I would maybe offer Director Rice to add an amendment to have further information.
I would prefer not to use the term tiny home. I would prefer another more appropriate term, and then to
Such as?
explore what is the permitted I think what we're looking for is what's acceptable now in terms of being certified. Would that meet staff's needs?
Does secondary dwelling fit better than tiny home? Or like, do you have something, Director Vanesh has it?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, personally, I think we're looking at this tiny homes on wheels idea, and it's something that it's already happening in all of our communities. How do we make this provide more certainty for folks that are on the lower end of needing housing? And just want to note that the Regional District of Central Okanagan has gone through this process and done this, and that the City of Grand Forks amended their zoning bylaw to permit tiny homes on wheels to be used through temporary use permit. So it is something that has been used in the regional districts, and I'm certainly interested in pursuing how we could do that here.
Right. Okay, so I made a motion, but I don't think anyone seconded it yet.
We got a seconder for Robin's motion?
Can that motion be repeated?
I sure could move that staff report on temporary use permits and how they are used in other regional districts and to support tiny home and RV living accommodations. But maybe I should expand it to say in other regional districts and municipalities or in local government. Is that more open-ended?
Yeah,
Okay, in local governments.
You second
I'll
that,
second
Director Nish? All right.
Yeah.
Let's call a question then. All in favor? That's carried. That's unanimous. Anything further, directors? Seeing none? Looking for a motion to terminate. Oh, we got an addendum item? Oh, you don't I see that? Oh,
I would
do
like
see
to
it.
move that the addendum be considered.
second.
Yeah. All those in favor of addendum consideration? That's unanimous. Carried. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move receipt of the request for financial assistance from the Quadra Island Conservancy and Stewardship Society.
Second.
All in favor? That's unanimous. Carried.
And I would like to move, sorry, I'm just opening the report. I would like to move that, where is the amount? That an amount
$13.40.
of $1,340 from the Electoral Area C Grant and Aid Fund be provided to the Quadra Island Conservancy and Stewardship Society.
Second.
Those in favor? None opposed? That's carried. And now we're looking for a motion to terminate.
Motion to terminate.
Second.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.